Hi everyone, thanks for stopping by to watch this video. On this occasion, I've been joined by a fantastic lady called Maria Bradford. She's a food entrepreneur, a dining expert, I believe a chef. This lady really loves food, and she created her own business called Maria Bradford Kitchen, which specialises in African cuisine. So she's going to share with us her experience as a woman in business, a black woman in business as well, challenges, and how she's grown and developed the business. So hi Maria, nice to connect with you, and thank you for taking the time to stop by. And if you could just introduce your business to us and what it's about and how you came to develop it.
Hi, my name is Maria Bradford. I started Maria Bradford Kitchen about 3 years ago now, actually. Before that, I was doing finance and accounting, working for a local authority.
Wow.
And working for private companies.
Yeah.
I've always loved food, and I've literally always cooked. I can vividly remember like starting to cook rice and stuff like that with my mom since I was about 9, and always kind of being involved in the kitchen. And I always cater for all my friends and family events, and everyone comes to my house for dinner and that. But I formally kind of started Maria Bradford, as I say, 3 years ago. I catered for my cousin's baby shower, and she invited 25, I think it was about 25 people to the event, and I catered for the event, and everyone loved the food. What I did, it was an afternoon tea party, but all the little nibbles were African inspired. Afterwards, everyone kept asking me about my cards and my details, and I said, I don't run a cooking company or anything. I just did this for my cousin. I was like, oh, no, you don't. And then, my daughter and everyone else just kind of convinced me to open an Instagram page, and which I did, and I started posting, and kind of that was my aha moment. And I realized how much I enjoyed running that event and how much I enjoyed cooking. And I decided to give it a go and see how it goes. And so Mary Bradford Kitchen started from there, like my little kitchen at home.
Lovely, that's nice. And I think when you kind of stumble across something or something in that way, when those close to you recognize it and encourage you, and kind of it gives you, as you said, an aha moment where you think, oh, okay, I got to think about this more. But were you one of these people who, from the time you were like a toddler or something, you were following your mum around in the kitchen?
Oh yeah, I was. And I was born and raised in Sierra Leone, and I came to England to continue school and went to uni and did accounting and everything. But it's just, I wasn't encouraged to like follow this passion of mine, which is cooking, because being a chef or being a cook, it's not really something that you're encouraged to do.
Yes.
Your parents expect you to be a doctor, an accountant, or something out this old career and stuff like that. They don't expect to send you to school and you come back and say, I want to be a chef, or I want to be I want to cook for people. That's not the career path at all that you get. I was very good at maths, and I'm a very particular person. So I think everyone just assumed that because of that, I could do accounting, and I just followed that path. I did enjoy it for a time because I am very, very, as I say, particular and organized. And but it was never really what made me happy. Whenever I'm in the kitchen cooking, that was the thing that really, and trying out new things. I love trying out new flavors, and working with African ingredients and all of that. And throughout my uni days, I actually had a job working in a kitchen. It was an Italian kitchen. I started there just basically washing dishes and that. By the time I left, actually, when I graduated, I was actually cooking for the restaurant. I was doing food, and it was just that, like, why don't you come back? I'm like, no, I got a graduate job. I'm going to go and do this, and just went off to my office job.
Yeah, yeah. You got on with what you thought was the standard kind of path, and
Exactly,
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
And with you saying that, obviously with your background being in accountancy and so on, that must have been a big help in terms of starting up your business, your
Oh, yeah.
forecasting and finances, and
Yeah, but I realize, yes, definitely. I think it helps me more in terms of calculating and working towards like planning myself, because it really, that part really helps, and all of that. And having that finance background as well, it does help you plan, like budgeting for big events. It really does help you, and calculating your costs and knowing that, you know, this will work and this won't work, and everything. So yeah, of course, that helped a lot. And after that, I'm like, again, my Africanness or African thing comes into it. I had to go back to catering school and just learn the classics really, so I can apply that
yeah.
to African ingredients and that.
I see. And that was going to be my next kind of point in terms of, you're in this job where you're doing accountancy and finance, but you're trying to make this shift into your own business. And how did you kind of make the shift? Were you sort of doing the day job and then cooking for people at weekends, or, how did you make it happen?
I did do that for a little bit, and because I have two young kids as well, that kind of made it a little bit difficult. I have she's almost 14, but I have an almost 14-year-old, and he's 5. He's a 5-year-old. So that kind of made it quite difficult to run a business, look after the kids, and then work. So I did do it for a little bit, and well, fortunately, I have a husband who is very supportive. And so when I said, like, and he was always, to be honest, before I even started, he was always like pushing to say, Maria, you really, really good at
That's
this.
wonderful.
You're really good at this. I think you should give it a go. I think you should give it a go. It's just me not listening, to be honest. So when that time came, it was very, very easy transition to say, right, maybe I can stop working and just focus on this. And he was like, yeah, do it, because I know you do well in it. So just go on and do it. And he kind of that nudge and pushing again to say, yeah, do what you really enjoy. Because also for the first time in my life, I actually enjoyed what I was doing.
Right.
I actually enjoy waking up. I hate mornings. But the only thing that I can wake up in the morning to do is like when I have events or running stuff. Yeah. I can do that and not complain. So
it gave you an energy,
Yes, absolutely. It just made me feel fulfilled. And I would say for the very first time in my life, I felt really, really happy with what I was doing. And it wasn't just about going to work and earning money and that. It was like, I just found my calling, if you like. And I was doing something that was more than any amount of money that anyone could give to me.
Wonderful. And with you saying that obviously you grew up in Sierra Leone, so do you only focus on that kind of food, or are you focusing on other African cuisines?
I do traditional Sierra Leonean food, but I tend to also use African ingredients in general, and just I'm more like an Afrofusion kind of chef, because I use African ingredients and do classic stuff with it. Yeah. I have a good knowledge of classic French cooking, and I tend to use African ingredients to do the best really that I can do. So substituting lots of things, like where I can use, where there's raspberry, I might use a strawberry and hibiscus that will give me that raspberry flavor. Where I need to use yam and stuff like that, or a potato, I can use yam, I can use cassava. So it's just about using those African ingredients that we don't tend to use for other things, and just applying that into classic cooking. But I also do very traditional Sierra Leonean food. I have, I just think personally for me, when it comes to West Africa, our food is very similar. We have different cooking methods. The Nigerians, the Ghanaians might do things completely different from how Sierra Leoneans might do it. But at the end of the day, the ingredients are quite similar and quite the same. So I tend to use those ingredients really to create something special and unique.
Great, great. And I think also from what you're saying, I mean, my parents are from Barbados, and, you know, us Caribbeans, like you said about the similarities with West African. I know across the Caribbean, there's so many of us that we're different islands, but we're all cooking the same sort of thing, but we call it a different name, or maybe have a slightly different method. But when it comes down to our people, we like our food with flavour.
Oh yeah, yeah. As long as you can give people with food with good flavor, and you know, you're there really. So it's then, and respecting the ingredients as well. Because I have lots and lots of respect for African ingredients, and I think our ingredients and food haven't been really explored. So it's kind of down to us to bring this to bring our amazing ingredients in that to the wider community.
And do you get your mum or your relatives, you know, are they your critics for whatever?
Oh yeah, my mom is. I did an event in Sierra Leone where she was there. I think it's for the very first time, to be honest. That's when I felt like that. She always knew I could cook, but if you speak to her, she'll say to you, "Oh yeah, she can cook, but I can cook better," and stuff like that. So I did an event in Sierra Leone, and she was there. She was in the kitchen helping me out, and for the very first time, like things that we were making fried rice, and how I make my fried rice is completely different, because I really think like the vegetables should be al dente. You should be able to identify each vegetable that is in the rice and that, and it's cooked perfectly and that. And I tend to use coconut oil quite a lot. And when I finished doing everything, she was like, "You can really cook. You can cook." Like, well, that's what I've been trying to say to you. Thank you. I'm glad you're recognizing that. But I always pick her brain though. I'm always on the phone. If I want to do very traditional stuff, I'll pick her brain and I'll say to her, "You know, I want to mix this and this. What do you think?" And she usually says, "Well, I don't know. You know, your cooking is so different from mine, but you could try this one and this might work." And sometimes she gets on, and you know, but I always pick her brain when it comes to food, because my mom's a lover of food, and growing up, our weekends were literally, because she was a teacher, and so weekdays she's busy working, but our weekend was full of just cooking, family and friends coming around, and eating loads, and all of that. So I tend to try and practice that with my children.
And everything you're saying there, again, I think it is so much with any culture, with any race, but as we know that no matter how much we live in this modern westernized world, that it's our food that still gives us that link to who and what we are. And that reaches back to, you know, the past. Even it reaches back, I think, to the past relatives that we've never met, the great grandparents and so on. But it gives us that link, that reaffirmation of our roots, of our culture, you know, also as well.
Absolutely. And the products, I do products as well. I started the whole Bradford Kitchen, and for each event I was doing, I was making chili sauce, and I was making chili sauce for the tables, and I was also doing drinks, because I just thought African food is okay with some certain wines, but not with every wine. It's really good, better with cocktails and that. So I started making drinks that I would make little cocktails and mix it with, which is where my products came from. So I have 2 chili sauces that I sell online, and about 6 different drinks as well. But it's just, and I do lots of farm markets and farmers markets and that. But the joy that brings me is just Sierra Leone is so small, and not many people know about Sierra Leone, and not many people have had experiences with African food. I live in Kent. When you say African food, some people go really confused. You know, some of the ingredients, they're not familiar with it at all. So to actually be in farm shops and farm markets, and people tasting and experiencing the different flavors that I'm doing, and just asking more and more questions about my background and my heritage, and that, I couldn't be prouder, to be honest. It's just absolutely great.
Brilliant. And one thing I should have asked you before, I mean, do you cater for kind of weddings, birthday celebrations? You said outdoor markets, so are you doing generally most kind of events?
I am. I'm doing absolutely everything. So I do. So with the product side, I run most of it through farmers markets. So I do different farmers markets in Kent, and I'm about to do Taste of Kent, which is in September, on the 7th and the 8th of September. I'm doing Taste of Kent, which is just literally just having my product there and selling it. But with regards to the catering side, I tend to do private dining, which is minimum 10 people.
Okay.
And that could be in some people's homes or any venue.
Mm.
And I also do, sorry.
That's all right.
I also do weddings as well. So I've done a couple of weddings here and in Sierra Leone. I do baby showers and that. So yeah, I do just private events, any special occasions, to be honest. And yeah.
Good. That's fantastic. So going back to you getting started up, you start your journey, and as you were already a woman in business, a black woman in business with regards to, you were doing your accountancy and finance, but with regards to then starting this business, in terms of challenges or any barriers, how did you find that? And did you find it difficult to kind of get people to even be interested in eating African food?
I did. I remember the first few farm markets that I did, where it was the first farm markets I did actually was a food demonstration. So I've got a local farm shop. They contacted me and said, would I be interested in being one of the chefs to demonstrate, because it was a strawberry season. And I replied to the email saying, yes, I can do it if I'm allowed to mix it with an African ingredient.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, sure, that's fine. So I did that. But I have to say, the biggest thing was, even when I was doing the chili sauces was and the product, was getting people to try it.
Right, yes.
Yeah, so getting people to try and trust what you're selling, to say, yes, I'll try that. And that was a big challenge. So I had to have a step back and redesign everything. Because initially it was me doing the labels at home, right, and just printing labels and putting it on. And then I realized that if I'm going to get people that have never ever heard about African food or never had any experience with African food, if I'm going to get them to be interested in what I do, the presentation is going to be, it needs to be amazing. I need to be able to package myself the way food that they're familiar with are packaged. So I went back to the drawing board and I got someone involved and said, this is my product, and I need you to help me with it. And they came up with my labels and the logos and everything. And when that changed, I realized the reception of the product changed as well, because all of a sudden the packaging was attractive enough for them to even want to try it.
Yes. Yes.
When the packaging wasn't attractive, and I don't really blame them, because, as I say, they don't know anything about Sierra Leone. If you don't know anything about Africa, you don't know anything about African food, and this thing that you're seeing or the packaging that you're seeing is not presentable enough, I wouldn't want to try it either, because I'm thinking, if they haven't actually taken time to look into presenting themselves well, why would I want to try that? So once I changed that, then the reception was so much better, and people are more willing and engaging a lot more. So when I'm out and about, and I've done events for people that have never ever had any experience with African or Black food, to be honest, they've hired me to do a birthday party. Last week I was in a farmer's market, and this lady came to the stall and said, I'm getting married, white Caucasian lady, so I'm getting married next year. Would you can I contact you for my wedding, and maybe you could do some food? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So it's just breaking barriers really with food, and being able to share my culture and my heritage.
Great. No, and I think what you're saying is so, and that's the thing, that we don't want to lose what we've created and lose our culture and our heritage, but equally understanding that we know what we've grown up with, and if you're going into your mum or your grandma's kitchen and the sauce is in an old jar, well, we know that, we're cool with that. But then when somebody who's white or from another culture or race sees it and they don't know what it is, like you said, making it attractive to them, but also doing it in such a way that you don't lose the cultural identity.
Oh, absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I always say maintaining the flavors, like the chili sauce. My chili sauce is exactly the same flavors as my grandma and my mom, and how we make it traditionally in Sierra Leone. But it's just how it's packaged. You see it packaged and you think, okay, I can give that a go. And once they give it a go, they absolutely love it. And I can say quite a lot of my clients down this end in Kent are people that have never, ever had any experience with African food at all. And they're the ones that buy a lot of my products.
And it sounds to me like, from what you're saying, what you're doing, and this is what food does anyway, doesn't it? It kind of educates people.
Oh, yes.
And you're breaking down barriers or forming
Yes.
bonds that would never have happened if they hadn't had that food.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I remember first getting really upset that people used to just assume I'm Nigerian. Not that there's anything bad about being Nigerian, but I so wanted to be identified as, yes, when I say Sierra Leone, for them to say, yes, I know where Sierra Leone is. But the moment I say Sierra Leone, they go, where is that? And I have to say West Africa. Oh, is that near Ghana? Or Nigeria? I'm like, yes, it's a little bit further down, but yes, that's where it is. But the more and more I'm having, like, I have customers there now who know exactly, or they've come back to me and said, oh, I had a look at Sierra Leone, and Sierra Leone has had a dark past and a dark history. We had a civil war, and people tend to associate the country more with that civil war and the Ebola than anything else. So for me, doing what I do and just throwing a positive light and saying, and people knowing that it's not just about Ebola and the war, there's so much more that we have to offer. I to be honest, that even that just gives me so much joy that it's not, I don't see what I do as a job. I have to be honest. It's not.
You're educating people as well.
Yeah,
which is
absolutely,
so important,
absolutely.
especially in the times that we're living in.
Yes.
It's so necessary right now. So no, it is.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. And I do use my husband and my daughter as a guinea pig a lot, because my husband's white Caucasian, and I tend to try things that he's never even, like, when I first met him, he wouldn't even try, he didn't like okra because he didn't like the spice.
Yes.
Now that's his favorite food. And he didn't like fufu. He used to say to me, oh, it looks like something that you like plasticine, like you plaster or what. Now that's his favorite food. And I just think it's when people don't know about food, about the ingredients or the history behind the ingredients and all of that, they're a bit apprehensive about it. But once they learn a little bit more about it, then they realize it is actually like mashed potatoes. So if I can get on and eat mashed potatoes and sausages and gravy, the least you can do is try my jollof rice.
I know that. Exactly.
I don't complain about eating that, and so the least you can do is give it a go. And once they give it a go, they absolutely love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So when you've been getting your business up and running and overcoming obstacles and so on, have you had any mentors along the way, either informally or formally, or business people that have supported you to help you move forward?
It's just been more, I would say, my husband runs his own business, so I do get lots of advice from him, and I have lots of friends that not necessarily do their business, but support what I do. So they'll say, oh, this is nice, but maybe if you do it that way, it might be better, but not any form of like proper going to a mentor or speaking to somebody to guide you through the way. I've just kind of just wing it, if you like. Yeah. It's a work in progress, every single day. I do speak to specialists, don't get me wrong. I do, especially when it comes to how my products look and how I should present the product. Yeah. I do pay for it, and I do speak to people, because I think that's really, really important. So I do get advice from that, the creative side. Like when it came to naming my product, for instance, the guy that did the labels helped a lot with that. My daughter came up with lots of the other names, so I get quite a lot of help and support from my family, who and my throughout this holiday has been doing all my labels and everything. I make the products. She does the labels. My husband sometimes sits and help and do the labels as well. So it's just been me and the family just plodding along with everything.
Wonderful. No, it's fantastic. And with regards to, you know, even having to, did you have to go to banks to get things like loans, or were you kind of finding any difficulties there, or have you completely done it off of your own, you know, resources?
I didn't go to any bank to get money. I've kind of done it off my own back and just using my savings, because I kind of believe in what I'm doing.
Right.
And so I wouldn't say I've gone to bank to ask them. I did contact the local authority when I first started, because they were doing grants and stuff like that. But which is my local authority. But I realized it would have been so stressful actually taking someone's money, because they kind of push you to grow faster than you want to grow, whilst probably using my own savings and just growing as organically as possible and doing things at my own pace has helped a lot. I'm not saying it hasn't been difficult, because I'm not earning like I used to before. And that's quite challenging, because sometimes people don't understand that when you first start, it's more about putting yourself out there and not taking any money out of the business. So any profit that you make, you literally just put it back in. I'm buying lots of equipment. It's like the least amount of money that I make, I'm buying equipment and that for making my products, or buying plates, and all of that. I've spent quite a lot of money on educating myself, as in I do lots of my own photos. So I've gone to a weekend photography school. I've gone back. I went to catering school, so which is quite a lot of money and time and all of that. So there is all those challenges. But as I say, if I just know that if I want to run a successful business, I have to make those investments and invest in my time, invest in my time and energy and everything.
And invest in yourself, of course.
And investing in myself, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm still, I still haven't figured all of it out, because there's still quite a lot I would love to do with Mary Bradford Kitchen. The future plan here is to have a restaurant in the future, and just building this brand and making it into something, and just being something that African people or any other really will be proud of, and go there and being able to taste African food and just being able to relate with it, or any Black person, to be honest, to be able to say, I'm going to a Black-owned restaurant and it's got all the facilities that I expect when I go elsewhere.
Yeah, that it's professional, that it gives good service, and what people expect to pay for. Yeah.
Because I always get surprised. Recently, I spoke to somebody bought a product from me, and 2 days later, they sent me a message saying they haven't received it. So in time, and I said they live in London, and I said, okay, if you don't get it first thing tomorrow morning, give me a text, and I will personally deliver it to you. Bear in mind, this is like 2 hours from my house. So she texted me in the morning, and she said she hasn't got it and she desperately wanted it. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll drop it to you. So I drove into London and I dropped it. And then she was so surprised. She said to me, this is why I usually don't buy products from Black people, customer service and the rudeness that comes with it. I'm like, I'm a bit surprised by that, because I have to say, I said to someone recently that as a Black person, I feel like respect is part of our DNA and respecting people. So applying that in business should really come hard to us, and knowing that with our customers, we really won't be able to achieve anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it might have cost me 2-3 hours back and forth return, but just look, she was so happy to get her product and shocked as well, saying that, I'm so surprised that you said you would deliver it, because some people just said, well, I'll give you your money back. I said, no, because you really wanted the product and you've shown such interest in what I do. The least I can do is respect you enough to make sure that you get what you've paid for and in the time that you expected it.
Yeah, and that's it. When you value your customers, and as you said, and I think that sadly there's been a situation or a reputation for a long time of black businesses who, whether it's hairdressers or food shops or whatever, where there isn't the same level of service that you get if you go to a white business, for example. Yeah. And I think that's something that still needs to be addressed in some areas.
Absolutely.
And our people are working on, but I do believe that there are now more people out there like yourself who totally understand that, this has got to change, and customer service cannot be an afterthought. It can't come second. It has to be up there with one of the things that we value. And that, as you said, if we don't value our customers, you don't have a business. So it's all part of how we function. But like what you're saying there with regards to what the lady said to you, the expectation, and that makes me go to the next point with regards to the expectations and that you think sometimes, or we think sometimes, are put on us as black people and even as black women, and where you were then trying to move from your accountancy and finance career into having this fine dining business. I mean, was there any weight of expectation there on you?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I feel like you need to prove yourself a lot more. And even maybe more to your own people than anyone else. You really, really need to prove yourself, because it's about also changing the perception of how we eat. And I feel like sometimes we don't really value our own food and our own products as well. So it's about, there's part of my service there's something that I don't do. I don't do food warmers. So I really, really believe that. I'm not saying we don't, if someone wants to use a food warmer to serve food, there's nothing wrong with that. But there are lots of people that do food warmers. So even now, when I say to people, I don't do food warmers, people think that I am trying to be snobbish. And that's not it at all, because I really think that cooking fresh and making sure that the food gets to that end user very, very fresh, and putting it on the table where it doesn't necessarily need to be plated individually or with a butler carrying it, but you can still do a family style and still do a really nice meal. And that's how that's how we eat, to be honest. As black people, we eat together and all of that, and having to queue for our food. I don't know why all of a sudden we think that's an appropriate way to serve people, where you put it in a food warmer and it stays there the whole day. And with just people topping on top of what's been there already, and not actually, which I kind of usually put that down to the fact that we do not respect our own product and our own food. If we really, really respect our own food, you want to make sure that it's absolutely fresh and presented well when you give it to that end user to eat it. But I have to say, with regards to difficulties and having to work extra hard, absolutely, you have to work extra hard as a black person. I find if I was white doing food and products and that, when I'm at the stalls and that, I don't think I'll have to work hard at convincing people to buy my food.
Yes.
I think when I'm standing there and I'm trying to convince them that actually this is not going to kill you. I eat it, my children eat it, my grandparents used to eat this, and they're still absolutely okay. So yeah, we still have those barriers and cultural things, really, and which is why whenever I see, to be honest, whenever I'm at like the market I am the only black person in that market that sell a food product. And I try my best to be there all the time, because I just like whenever I'm there, I'm representing, and
Yes. Yes.
um, I'm representing an entire race, which is quite a bit,
A weight to carry.
it's quite a lot of weight,
Yes,
and
it
you
is.
know,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
but it's all good. It's absolutely all good. But there's so much more positive, because you do get people that say to you, "Oh wow," and Black people that actually send you message and saying how proud they are of what you're doing,
Yes.
which
Good.
which
Good.
is amazing. Yeah, and you just like, oh, thank you. And people that hire you that absolutely appreciate the efforts that you go through to
Yeah.
make sure that what you're giving them, you've put lots of thought into it as
And what
well.
are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel like I could sit here and I could finish the day talking with you. Honestly,
Well, I can talk about food forever, as long as
yes,
food.
yes,
All day.
what could be bad talking about food? But before we finish up, what can we expect to see? Or you were saying earlier about potentially having a restaurant in the future. So what might be, if you can tell us, if it's not top secret? Maria
Well,
Bradford.
it's nothing that I've started. So I've got an event on the 15th of September in London. It's all advertised on my Instagram page, Maria Bradford Kitchen. But the future plans, it's next year. I'm planning to run quarterly events, and just for me, it's just getting the product out there and getting myself out there. And the future plan, once I find that amazing location, then I will actually go to the bank, because location is very, very important. I want somewhere that's easily accessible, somewhere that's easily accessible, somewhere possibly closer to London or in London, as I live in Kent, and somewhere where I'll be able to sell my product as well as do fine dining as well. So I haven't found the venue yet. I haven't found that specific venue.
But we'll be watching.
But that's the future. Yes, that's the future plan. That's the absolute future plan, to make sure that I can run something that I can be proud of, and every single Black person will be proud of.
Brilliant, great. And where can we get more information about whatever you're doing? You said Instagram, but
yeah, so Instagram. I do run my Instagram page quite a lot, so I'm addicted to that thing.
I know what it's hard to put it down.
Yeah, and my website. So my website, people can contact me and reach me from my website. But my Instagram page more, I do use my Instagram way more than I use my website. My website is kind of at the background, undergoing lots of different changes. But
and your Instagram handle, so is it Maria Bradford?
Yeah, so it's at Maria Bradford Kitchen.
Great, okay. And the website, if people are taking a look, is that Maria Bradford?
Yeah, so it's mariabradfordkitchen.com.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, we will be watching. I know I will be, because I want my invite to when you start. I'm coming for my share of food.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You guys will be the first on the list. You'll be on the first of my list to come and see what I'm doing.
Wow.
But it's just been an amazing few years. Just doing what I love, and just representing. To be honest, representing in areas where we're very, very much our food and what we do and what we're about is very, very much not represented at all. So
and it's time. So thank you so much for spending the time, and thank you for sharing your story, your journey. I know it's inspired me, and I'm sure it's going to inspire other women, whatever they're doing with their lives and with their plans. And
absolutely. And I absolutely think if there's anything that you're passionate about, you do it. The money will come. The money will start trickling in once you find that, give it your all, and when you start doing that, then you're actually leaving. I actually feel like now I'm leaving. I'm nearly 40, and I just leaving.
No, that is fantastic advice, and I think advice that we all need, because we can get so caught up in the day to day. So to know that, it's possible that no matter what's going on in the background, to get up and just have a go. where we want to be, and that is, yeah, just as for me, you are a real inspiration. So
thank you so much.
thank you for taking the time. Thank you for sharing your journey, and like what you're doing, keep making the good food. I'm looking forward to hearing about your restaurant, and keep representing as you are, because I'm sure you're inspiring lots of others to come and stand alongside you as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been so good, talking to you, and thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's fantastic, and no doubt we'll catch up soon anyway. All right.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot. Bye.